In this episode, we're taking a look at how we can design a portfolio site. This portfolio site is going to be specific to a photographer. His name is Olademeji Odansi, and he takes wonderful photographs like the 3 images you see on the screen. We are first going to design this site, and hopefully in a future video, we will code it out. So to start, you've got the header and a first impressions area with the name of the photographer down the middle. There's a sort of difference on the text that makes it stand out, but also gives a lot of emphasis on the photos that you see here. The plus sign or the plus emblem here, what it's going to represent is when you hover on it, it should give you additional information about the photograph. When you scroll down, you get to another section which talks about the ability to create kind of like a background behind the photographer, a little about us section there. Currently it is lorem ipsum because I couldn't find too much information about Olademeji, but in this case we are just going to leave it as dummy text. Once you scroll down some more, you do see a video. This is a short film that I was able to find him working on, and talks a little about it. So it's called Let's Talk About It Now, and the message behind it was really good. It's just it isn't a long film. I think it was just a trailer actually. So you got like a little preview section, and then towards the end, you've got 4 companies who have featured his work, and then a footer. So that's it for the homepage. It's a very simple homepage. We do have links for About Us page, work, and contact. If I'm able to find additional information, or if we're looking to keep this series going to where we actually build a full-blown site, I will make designs for that and release tutorials. But in this case, we're only going to design and code the homepage only. We are using Gatsby in the next videos, so look forward to that. In the description, you'll find 2 files. One is a starter file and one is a final project. The color palette's already set on the left side, including the character styles. We are using Helvetica New. And then the components, you've got the social links and then the logos for the featured companies, as well as a play button component. If you're looking to download these photographs, you can go to his Instagram or his Unsplash. I'll have both of them linked down below. Right, so first things first, let's go ahead and turn on the grid. I'm going to use these little grid lines that you could pull from the left and the top, just so that we don't need to necessarily have the grid turned on the entire time. If we select the text layer, go ahead and write Odansi, and this is sort of like a placeholder logo for now, but we're going to change this to 16 pixels. And I believe I have a character style already laid out. So this right here, this will be his logo. It is 16 pixels using the font family Helvetica New. It has the font weight is bold and the letter space is set to 100. We can change the line height to 24 pixels. Go ahead and align this to the far left and allow it to have a margin of 48 pixels from the top. Let's zoom into this a little bit more, and let's copy and drag this to the far right. What we want to do here is create a contact link. So just go ahead and type in contact, and we can drop the font weight to regular. Or sorry, let's do medium instead. Regular is a little too thin. And let's change the font size to not 24, but 14 pixels. And from here, we can copy this 2 more times and change them to about and work. We are going to give each item a margin of 72 pixels left and right, except for the last child. It would not have a margin right. What I mean by last child is the last item. It's going to be aligned to the far right grid. So now we've pretty much have our navigation done. It is a very simple navigation. The navigation links have a margin top of 50 pixels, while the logo has a margin top of 48. Next, we can jump into creating that full name across the center. Select the text layer and just type in his name. I'm copying and pasting it just so I don't misspell it. Let's go ahead and blow it up a bit. I do have a character style already presetted, and I will go ahead and select that. Let's turn the fill to black so we can see it. But what I have the text style as, or the character style as, it has a font size of 100 pixels, letter spacing set to 400, line height is at 123, but shouldn't really matter here, and the font weight is bold. We are using Helvetica New for each and every single text item on this website. So let's go ahead and center this. And we could do so by selecting the center align or align middle. And this section on the left is vertical and this section on the right is horizontal. So just go ahead and center them both. Next, we can select a rectangle tool and create a rectangle with the width of 536. And this is going to be using 4 columns. And let's set the height to 670. Now we just need to drag in our main image. And the main image we'll be dragging in is this image here with the shades. So let's go ahead and select it and drag it and drop it onto our box. We can go ahead and disable the grid layout just so that we can get a clear picture of what we're seeing. And let's turn off the border on our image. We can push this image back simply by selecting the Command Shift left bracket, and this will push it back. Now we do need to do 2 more things, which is add our left and right image. So let's go ahead and do that. This will require us to turn the grid layer back on and select a rectangle tool. It is going to be 260 width or 2 columns, and the height will be set to 324 pixels. Next, what we're going to do is make the end or the bottom of our image the exact middle of the text layer. So if we just push this down, we could see we align it directly to the middle of the artboard and the text layer. So let's go ahead and copy this and paste it and do the same on the opposite end until we reach the very middle of the artboard. So we could see that everything is perfectly symmetrical. What we could then do is turn off the grid layout and drop in our 2 images. The left image is the image of the maroon background. So let's go ahead and drop this here. And the right image is the image with the orange being bitten into, I think. So let's disable the borders. And what we're going to do from here is push all of our image behind the text. So select all of them and hit Command Shift Control bracket or left bracket. And in this case, the final thing that we need to do for our banner section is go ahead and select the text layer and change the blend mode to difference. This will make the text layer disappear, but when we change the fill to white, we could see the lovely colors pop. Let's go ahead and copy the logo and bring it down here. And we're going to change this to say scroll more. And we want to make sure that this is 48 from the bottom. So let's go ahead and make sure it's precisely there. Next, we want to add the plus sign. So let's copy that and change this to a plus sign. Now with the plus sign, we can change this to a path. So if you right click, we can find, if we go to the top and select object path, convert to path, this will turn it into a path. And let's just blow it up a little and see if we can get it to the right spot. Since we are looking for consistency, I am going to set the width and the height to our plus sign to 18 pixels. And let's see if we can get it to where it's around 32 pixels from our image. Let's fix the X coordinates so that they are a whole number. And let's change that to 32 pixels. And I think we can see if we can measure out the bottom margins to get it a whole number as well. So we'll need to change the Y's to get rid of the decimal. And we can make the margins from the bottom be 88. Let's get rid of this. Last but not least, we're going to copy the scroll more and change this to say visual artist and photographer. Go ahead and grab your element and set it to a -90° angle and just set it to be centered vertically. And then to center it between these 2 items, we are going to use a rectangle tool, get rid of the border. Let's change that to this color. And let's make sure that it is aligned up correctly. And we'll use it as just a reference tool, but we'll select both layers and center them so that our text layer can be perfectly centered with the widths of this rectangle. We can then delete this here. And if we zoom out, we can see our first impressions area is pretty much complete. We can then select our artboard and just bring it down a bit so that we have more room to work with when we scroll. And the next section we're going to work on is that little about blurb. And from here, what we can do is select the grid or turn the grid on and select the text layer. And the first headline is going to say the ability to create. And we are selecting the character style with 32 pixels. Go ahead and set this to the far left, letting us have an extra grid or margin on the left side. The character styles is 32 pixels, font weight bold, letter spacing 100, and the line height 39. We then want the headline to be 220 pixels from the top. So since we are working in full screens, we are going to set this as just a reference. So actually, we're going to be from this section, right? So just set that to the top so we know how much margin we're working with. Since right now it's 238. Let's bump it up until we hit 220. Next, we need that text layer. So select the text layer and let's grab lorem ipsum text. Using my favorite lorem ipsum site, loremipsum.io, I'm going to go ahead and grab this text and use it as dummy content. Back in our project, let's go ahead and paste it and change it to the Helvetica new 14 pixels. And let's select the area text so that we can shrink this a bit. The width's down to 300 or 400 for now. We'll adjust it in a sec, but let's align it to the far left with a margin top of 40 pixels and give it 5 margins or 5 columns to work with. Let's drag it down. And I misspoke, it's not the Helvetica new 14 point, it's the Helvetica new 18 point. This is our paragraph styles. It is 18 pixels, font weight light, the letter space set to 0 with a line height of 40. And I think I feel more comfortable setting it to 4 grid lines or grid points rather than 5. And let's switch it back off of text area to point text. And I think we have an extra space, so let's get rid of that on the bottom. We can select the text layer again and just write learn more. Select the 16 point Helvetica new character style, push it to the far left, and let's set the margin of 72 pixels. That looks great. So let's get rid of this top one since we don't really need it anymore. And next thing we need to work on is that right section with the imagery. So what we had was 2 of our images with a black background and sort of a maroon overlay on portions of the image. So the dimensions of our first image was a width of 460 with the height of 575. So let's set 460 and 575. And let's just align this a bit and let's just copy it and make the second one smaller. So let's just lock the aspect ratio and set the width to 410 and push it behind. We can also grab a copy of this and push it to the far right and change the fill to black and switch the width to 836 with a height of 418. Now let's just align it to be far right, excluding our grid, and push it to the far back. We can then drop our images. The top image is going to represent the hand or fist, and the second image is going to be the guy with the flower in his mouth. Let's push down the second image a bit, and what we could then do is copy the black layer, add that maroon color, and switch this to an overlay. Let's select both images and turn off the border, and then pull a copy of the plus sign so that this can also represent an image that when you hover on the plus sign, it'll give you more details. And let's set it right there. It's about 88 pixels from the top of the image. And let's turn off our grid layout. Now I think we can align these two just a bit better. So let's group our entire right side and our left side. And let's push the right section just a bit up so that we can have a better alignment. Let's preview this. And we got the banner section. And then when we scroll down, we've got our second section. All of it looks great so far. Next, what we want to do is focus on our video. So let's select the artboard and turn the grid on. And let's bring the artboard down a bit. Now let's select the rectangle for the video and let's allow us to have 2 columns of space to work with, so 1 on each side. The width is set to 1364 while the height is set to 772. And what we could do here is drag in our thumbnail of the video. Select the image or the thumbnail and simply drag it over and drop it. And from here we can drag the component just to layer it on top. All I did to create this play button component is, first let's just turn off the grid so that we could show you a better representation. I simply grabbed a circle like so and a triangle like so, and then I turned the triangle with a degree of 90 degrees and then just centered it. Now when working with the play button, if you center it perfectly, it's not going to look all that right, so you need to give it a bit of more margin on the left than the one on the right just to get a precise center. So if you just shrink it down a bit and give this a black fill, we could see we kind of have our circle again. Just delete that and use the component I created earlier. Select both layers and center them horizontally and vertically. Now to create that section describing the video, I can just copy this top part here just for the sake of ease and consistency. We can get rid of the learn more link. Let's just ungroup these, turn on the grid and set the ability to create to the far left, and the blurb section, give it about 5 columns to work with. So turn on the text area and give it 5 columns. It isn't going to stretch all the way since we did turn it to a point area or a point text. So we're going to copy new content and place it in just a sec. The ability to create will be switched to Let's Talk About It, which is the name of the short film. Let's talk about it now. Save that. And we need to get the content on the right side. The content on the right side isn't dummy content because I was able to find it on his Instagram. So go ahead and take all this and place it. And for you guys, you could either find the same content or you could simply just put in dummy content for now. Select both layers and give it a margin top of 128. And then select the video or the background image and make sure we turn the border off. Let's go ahead and get rid of the grid layer one more time and select the rectangle tool. And then you want to create a rectangle that stretches across the entire screen and change the color to black, turning off the border. Let's set the margin top to 144, and it's going to have a margin top of 144 from the bottom of the Let's Talk About It section. And the height of our black section is going to be 216. And here's where we can drop in the logos. So drop in Creative Boom, Afro Punk, WGSN, and then Vogue. And we simply want to set these to have a specific margin left and right so that they're equal. We are going to set them to 164. So let's do that real quick. This is 164, 164, and then finally Vogue will also be 164. Now we can select all of them, group them, and center them horizontally, and then select the black area background and center them vertically. Finally, we can work on the footer. Our footer is going to have a height of 96 pixels, and it will simply stretch across the entire screen. And we can change the color of the footer to F2, F4, 5. Sorry, F2, F4, 5. And we can change the color of the footer to F2, F4, F5, which is sort of this little off-white. Turn off the borders. We can select the text layer and add a copyright. So we can just put the copyright symbol and then 2019, and this default character style is killing me. I don't know why XD just keeps defaulting back to it. We can select the 16 points, and let's just zoom in here so that we have just better visual we're working on. It's going to be copyright 2019, the name of the photographer. And we can switch the font weight down to regular instead of having it bold. That just seems too light. Let's do medium instead. And let's center this vertically and push it to the far left. Let's zoom out a bit and we can copy and paste it to the far right. And we can simply write his email, which is let's create. And I am not doxing him at all. This is a public email on his Instagram page. Finally, we can add the Instagram logo and the Twitter logo. These are logos or icons coming from Feather Icons. I simply just created a fill for them since on Feather Icons they are outlined. What we want to do is just make sure they're vertically aligned. Let's ungroup them and check out the margin. We do want to give them a margin of 24 pixels. So group them again, make sure they're centered horizontally, and then group the background and make sure they're centered vertically. Let's fix the artboard height to reach the end of the footer, like so. And let's take a look at this. If we zoom out, we can see the footer, we can see the featured on section, the let's talk about it now video. If it seems like I'm cutting off here and there, it's because there's a lot of noise back in the background. There's a biker gang just rolling through the neighborhood. If we scroll up, it's the ability to create section, and then finally the banner. Let's preview it so that we can get the full experience. And everything seems to look amazing in my opinion. That'll do it for this video. Let me know if you want to see more regarding this project. I am working on coding this project and adding some animations. If you would like to see animations being worked on in Protopie, let me know in the description and I could definitely make that happen. This is going to do it for this video. Have a wonderful day.